Welcome everybody. It's Thursday night. I know it's a hard night to join the Hammer and Nail show because Mac Jones is balling over on your TV screens. But we appreciate all of you that are here to join us for Hammer and Nails episode number 30. I'm Jack Hammer and I have my co-host over here, Jessie Naylor. How you doing, Jessie?
I'm doing good. Are we really on episode 30? That is wild to think about. Holy moly.
More than halfway through the year, and that's with a week or two off because of whatever commitments that we had to hit on. So
that's crazy, Jack. That's crazy. Well, yes, I'm ready to roll. I can't believe we've made it to 30. This is that's pretty cool, man. I'm excited for tonight.
Yeah, so am I. Coming off a big win on Monday night, I don't think either one of us, I know neither one of us for sure, actually said the 49ers were going to win with our predictions last week, so we were both incorrect there. But that was a heck of a game on Monday night, and did the 49ers right the ship with that victory?
All right, so here's what I said immediately after the win. I said, this win feels so good. It really felt like they won twice. Like, it was good enough for 2 wins in my book. But reality is this team is still under 500. Now, they have a real tough road ahead of them, but it's a road that they control. I really believe that because they get to play the Falcons. They get to play the Vikings. They get to play the Seahawks, right? So they can create their path to the playoffs, absolutely. But did they right the ship? At the end of the day, as much as I want it to count as 2 wins, it only counts as 1 win. And right now, they are still under 500. They've at least got to string together a couple more wins, get above that 500 mark. It starts with Jacksonville, and we'll see what happens this week. But as of now, no. Unfortunately, I don't believe they've completely righted that ship yet.
I agree with you on that one. I don't think we can say at this point that they have. I think what you can say is that was first time all year long. Really, we've seen the 49ers play up to their potential. That was the best offensive performance that they've put on the field all year long. I know they did good against Detroit, but Detroit's not the Rams. So from an offensive perspective, that was the best game they put on the field, and really even on defense, they played a really good game. They had really, the one drive in the second quarter for the touchdown. But other than that, they were all over the field shutting these guys down. The third quarter was all 3 and outs. I think Rams had the ball for only 9 plays in the third quarter, 8 plays in the first quarter. So really good quarters there. And I don't think you can say they righted the ship yet because like you just said, it is only 1 game. I think that's going to depend on what happens moving forward. If they can go out and win this week, that sets up a huge game at home against Minnesota, who is one of the teams they're fighting with for the playoffs. The only team ahead of them, the only team that they're dealing with right now that they don't have a game against remaining on their schedule is Carolina. So that's really the one thing that you can slows you down. But if they can get on a roll here, who knows? They could possibly even get to the 6th seed. Really.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is that Carolina, I believe Carolina and New Orleans play each other one more time. So either way, that's a win for the 49ers, right? Regardless of who wins that game. And then Carolina plays Tampa twice.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That could work out well in their favor. Let me ask you this. Was this win bigger than the loss the previous week? Just the way that you felt about it, the way that the season's going, do you feel like that loss against the Cardinals was a bigger loss or the win was a bigger win?
I think the loss to Carolina to Arizona was a bigger loss than the win on Monday night was for the 49ers over the Rams, because that was a wounded Cardinals team that the 49ers should have been able to take advantage of. So that's one of those when you look at a season, the NFL season, the teams that make the playoffs, especially in the top 5 seeds, right? You're looking at those are teams that are pretty much 500 against the good teams that they play, and they beat all the bad teams. That's really how you get to the playoffs and get a high seed in the NFL. And the 49ers had an opportunity against, I understand that Arizona isn't a bad team, right, because of their record, but they were a bad team that week, where they should have been, because of the personnel that they had available to them.
Yeah, listen, here's the crazy thing. I agree with you, actually, because I felt like that loss was the worst loss of the Shanahan and Lynch regime. That win was a big win, but I don't think it was the biggest win that they've had. So I agree with you. And then watching the way that Arizona got handled against Carolina made it even worse.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. The 49ers just did not. They didn't come into that game. They weren't. It's hard to say they weren't ready to go. I think what happened was I don't think San Francisco's a very good sudden change team. When things happen against them, I don't think they handle it well. We've seen that throughout the year. When the offense turns the ball over, it's not like the defense usually goes out and shuts down the opposition. Usually, they're still able to move it down and get it in the field goal range. Maybe they go for it and don't get it or something like that. But usually, the defense, when they're put in a sudden change situation, doesn't respond very well. And you just saw it kind of snowball in that game.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lucian says the Super Bowl loss was the biggest loss, of course. But we're talking regular season. I should have clarified that. Of course, the Super Bowl loss is the biggest loss. Yes.
Yeah, I think instead of maybe seeing the biggest loss, I think it's pretty. I think you could say it was the most embarrassing loss, or it was definitely one of the most embarrassing losses of the Shanahan regime.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Obviously the Super Bowl was the most heartbreaking, but the way that Arizona game played out and how everybody probably expected them to go in and take care of that, very embarrassing.
Yeah, for sure. Let's jump over to our another one, because I think we're seeing some folks over in the comments kind of getting to this already. Is this sustainable moving forward? Is what they did on Monday night sustainable leading into this week and forward?
Yeah, I mean, it is. It definitely is, but it's going to take a lot, right? Like, it's not a given that it's going to happen. Is it sustainable? Yeah, because what they did was what they've always done under this regime is they committed to running the ball, and no matter what happened, they played physical on offense, they imposed their will, and they stuck to the game plan. So yes, is it sustainable? Absolutely. I mean, I feel like they can run really on any team, especially any team left on their schedule. So is it sustainable? Sure. Do I trust that they're going to sustain it? I can't say that that's necessarily the case. But yeah, running the ball for sure. The other part of that, though, is, and this is what makes it tough, I don't know if I trust Jimmy to continue to not turn the ball over. That's one. And I also don't know if I can trust this defense to continue to force turnovers. I mean, they forced 2 turnovers that game. They hadn't done that all season. They've gone multiple games without forcing a turnover. So, yeah, I mean, is it? Yes. Is it likely that they will? Unfortunately, no.
Yeah, from a sustainability thing, I don't think the 49ers did anything outside of the ordinary. Really, all they did was they took advantage of the personnel that they have, and getting Jeff Wilson Jr. back, I think, really helped to ignite that. Because of you have Deebo Samuel, who's the ultimate versatile guy. You have Jeff Wilson Jr., who has that versatility to be able to play fullback and run and halfback, kind of go back in between those two positions. So he's kind of a positionless kind of a player. You have Kyle Juszczyk, who can play fullback, tight end, wide receiver kind of a position. He kind of moves all over the place. And the 49ers really were able to take advantage of that early to get the ball going. And then as far as the sustainability part, the other part of it, like you mentioned, was turnovers. And that's a key. I mean, I had asked on Monday before the game, I just kind of threw out a tweet, the 49ers win if, and friend of the program, Tabor Pepper, you and I interviewed him earlier this year.
Yeah.
In the offseason before training camp, his dad responded back saying, hold on to the ball. And that's really it. And that's exactly 100%. And that's what I kind of had been saying. And that's what I've been saying all along is when they hold on to the football, they're pretty good, but they just don't usually do it. I think not holding the ball is what killed them against Arizona, and on Monday night they did. And you're right. Can we expect Jimmy Garoppolo not to turn the ball over again the rest of the year? No, it's going to happen.
Well, listen, shout out to Tabor Pepper's dad, but that's the second best comment you got. I just want to be clear because the best comment was me saying scoring more points. Well, I thought that was pretty good.
But you actually stole that from me, because that was my expert analysis on our show. Was you asked what it was going to take to win? I said score more points. That was hey, you come here for good analysis, and we give it to you.
Yeah, hard hitting analysis here on the Hammer and Nail show. Don't miss out. I promise. It's
that,
always good stuff.
that's right, 100%. We always give you the news you need to know and the inside information. Exactly. One of the other topics kind of coming out of this, and I don't think this is going to go away anytime soon, even though I kind of want it to. But I'm just so tired of talking about it. But should Shanahan incorporate Trey Lance into the game plan, even though or even when Jimmy Garoppolo is playing well, like he has been the last few weeks?
Yeah, listen, it is. It's tough to talk about, but at the same time, I'll say this:
Mm-hmm.
if this is the headline to a show, I guarantee you get more clicks and views than any other headline you're going to put out. It's like people are always say they're tired of it, but they come back for more. It's crazy. Yeah, listen, I think I've been pretty consistent on this. I mean, I do want Lance to be the starter, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, I've also said that if Jimmy's your guy, then stick with him. You cannot play this back and forth game. Like that's not helping anybody, and it's not helping the team win, in my opinion. Look at any game. It's really hard to figure out a time to insert Lance. Like just watch a flow of a game. Where are you going to put where do you put him in? Do you put him in after they score? Do you put him in after they go 3 and out? Do you know what I mean? Like there's just no perfect
Yes.
spot to insert Trey Lance. So for me, no, I don't think they should look for spots to get him in. On the flip side, they should have a very short leash with Jimmy Garoppolo, right? As good as
Mm-hmm.
that win was, I feel like they're one game away, one horrible loss away to Jacksonville for Trey Lance to be inserted and be the full-time starter. So that's my stance on things.
Yeah, I'm not a big, switch it up kind of guy. I think you saw this one. I did want to make sure that we got this out there because it's again hard hitting analysis that you come to the Hammer and Nails show for. What's the plan for today, Coach? Score more than they do. Thank you, Eric. But no, it is the deal with Lance and having him in the game plan. Shanahan said, I think it was on Monday, there's always parts of it that are, the game plan, there's always a package for him or two. There's always packages for him to get into the game. And whether or not he gets into the game largely depends on what's happening. And the last few weeks, I don't know if there's ever been a spot that they could really put him in since I didn't see it anywhere in Chicago really that you thought that he should come into the game because the offense was moving the ball up and down the field in Chicago. Uh, Same thing for the most part against Arizona. Really, they were doing a good job of moving. If it wasn't for the turnovers, I think they only had 1 3 and out early in the game. So I think you're on the right track. I just don't know if there's where you fit him in. What I would say on that, and maybe part of the way that you could kind of stop some of these questions, is when you're up 31-10 in the fourth quarter with like 7 minutes to go in the game, throw him in there and let him get some snaps at that point because you're up by 3 scores. I don't think he's going to go in there and do enough to get you behind to the point or get you to the point where you're going to have to put your starters back in. I think you can go out there and have him hand off, have him make some easy throws, and that kind of stuff. And I think that's the one spot that I would say if you're going to try to get him in, maybe you get yourself into a situation like you had on Monday night. You throw him in there in the fourth quarter late.
Yeah, and somebody said that in the chat as well, and I tweeted that out. I agree with that. I guess when I think about it, I look at should they incorporate him into the actual game plan? Like that means the game's close or what have you, that the game isn't won.
Gotcha.
I would say no, but I agree with that. Yes, if there's a blowout one way or the other, absolutely. I mean, and it's not just Lance. Like I look at the whole thing. I feel like that was a good time for Banks to play, Sermon, and I don't know when Mitchell got injured. Jack, I don't know if it was ever said. Maybe you do.
Well, I had asked. I had seen a report where he was at practice today in the blue jersey, non-contact, and so I'd asked one of the folks that was there which hand it was, which finger it was, what hand and finger it was, and somebody else in the commented to me saying that it was his right hand, and it looked like it was like his ring or his index finger, and that it looked like he hurt it in the first quarter.
Oh,
like he heard it,
okay.
like he'd heard it early on. Yeah, I didn't see it. I haven't really watched. I haven't been able to watch the game on TV. So
Yeah.
I didn't see that, but that's what I was told. So it was early in the game. He was able to play through it, and he was back at practice today. Even though he didn't participate, he was listed as a non-participant. I think he was out there and they saw him, but I don't think he was actually in practice today.
Okay. Yeah. And listen, I mean, whether it was early or late, still an opportunity to get him. I mean, he carried the ball a ton. Get him out. Like, put Sermon in, give him the final 7, 8 carries of the game to seal it. There's no reason not to. And I just feel like they risked a lot, even though nothing ended up happening in that time.
Sure.
You're risking a lot in that situation. There's multiple guys that you could put in to not only give them just some time, but also just make sure your starters are protected. So I thought that was a missed opportunity across the board.
Yeah, and I agree on the Sermon thing. That's I said that came up on Tuesday when I was doing my call-in show, and that's what kind of what I said. It makes sense, right? Why take the guy that you kind of count on, because that's kind of what you're counting on Mitchell now. Why allow him to keep getting, because the defense knows you're pretty much going to run, and you just continue to beat him up, right?
So. Yeah, somebody says the Detroit game is why you don't put in the back. That was a very different scenario.
Well, yeah, but we're also not talking about putting in the backup secondary. We're talking about switching up the quarter. We're talking about putting in your first round draft pick and a third round draft pick that you traded up for, and a second round draft pick. It's not like we're saying put in your all your backups and everything. Yeah. I mean, you could put those 3 guys in there and hand the ball off just like they were doing anyway, and let them get some hits. But yeah, and then Piner had a good comment over here, I think. Sometimes he's good. Sometimes we got to be careful with him. He said, if we were bad in the red zone, then yeah, I'd include him, but not playing him when it's obvious that the game is over could possibly get people hurt for no reason and not utilizing his snaps. I'm not sure about the last part, but I do agree with what, at the beginning part of that. If they're bad in the red zone, like struggling against Green Bay at the end of the first half, right? You throw them out there to run the ball around the side. That's kind of where you incorporate them, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they were going to hand the ball off at the end of the game anyways. So if you want him to be an elite hander off guy like Jimmy Garoppolo, that's the way to do it.
well, Garoppolo is elite. The way he puts the ball in the in that zone, and it's nice and soft where it's not too hard, because Lance does have a hard. He has a tendency to be a little aggressive.
Especially he flips the wrist over very quickly. I've heard about this.
Yeah. And Chester says, "What if Sermon fumbled?" Well, I mean, I don't know how many times has Sermon fumbled this year. I don't know if has Sermon fumbled the ball other than the one time against Philadelphia when he got concussed.
Yeah, I don't believe so.
I don't think so. So, yeah. Anyway, that's And my thing with Lance is that I just get tired of the argument. That's really all it is. And I understand people want to talk about it, but it gets old after a while to an extent. Maybe just because I'm here all the time. And this guy wants to talk about Yak. I don't know why he wants to talk about that. I mean, it came up today. Do you want to talk about? You want to talk about?
He's talking about our Twitter thing or whatever.
Yeah, he probably is. I mean, I was right, but No, I see.
I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to rehash everything that we talked about. But go ahead.
Well, the discussion was somebody had mentioned about Garoppolo only being a product of Yak because he doesn't throw the ball down the field. The same old Jimmy Garoppolo stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. You were right in the number, and the amount of Yak yards being at 6 was still higher than others. What I think was missed, not by you, but my point that I was trying to get across before we kind of divulged, took a side into a side turn into something else was.
I'm good at that, by the way.
No, it's okay. Was that Garoppolo?
Turn into something completely different.
No, because you were right, and I was missing your point to an extent, and we were kind of missing each other's point because we weren't talking. We were tweeting at each other. Was Garoppolo's actual completion yards per completion is much higher than it's been in the rest of his career. He's 2.5 yards better than he was a year ago. He's a yard and like 1.2 yards per completion better than he was in 2019. And he's right, and even his intended air yards are higher than they were in 19 and 20. So he's throwing the ball down the field more. If you look at his chart on Next Gen Stats, you'll notice that the green area on his chart in 2019 is all in the 0 to 10 range. Now it's in the 10 to 20 range. So there is a little bit more of a downfield aspect to what they're doing. I understand that he is taking advantage of Yak, and I would kind of expect him to, considering he has Deebo Samuel, right?
Yeah,
and I think all quarterbacks benefit from Yak to an extent, and maybe Garoppolo's taking advantage of it more.
Mahomes more than anybody this year. Mahomes is a great quarterback. Is anybody saying he's not great because he benefits from Yak? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. What was your? I'm doing all the talking here,
so here's my thing is that Jimmy, if you look at where Jimmy compared it to 2019, it's slightly better, and even overall ranking. When you looked at his intended air yards in 2019, he was second worst to Drew Brees, and we know where Drew Brees' arm was, right? Completely shot. So he was second worst. And then he had a really high turnover rate. And that was my biggest thing. I don't want to take full credit, but I think I'm one of the pioneers in this whole intended air yard thing during the offseason, and people went nuts with it. But my whole thing was, it's not just the intended air yards. It's okay to have low intended air yards as long as you're protecting the ball. Jimmy's issue for me in 2019 is that not only was he not taking shots, but he was turning it over at an astronomical rate. He was near the bottom in both those categories, right? In a bad way. So when you combine those two, that's where I got, sidetracked with and said, listen, you can tell me about his completion percentage and all these other things, his third down, whatever. None of that means anything. This man is a turnover machine. Now, when I look at him this year, he still turns the ball over at a higher clip than what, I don't know, a top 12 quarterback is. And that's the argument where not you, but other people have made he's a top 12 quarterback, what have you. He turns it over at far too high of a rate to be that. He still doesn't have super high intended air yards. Better, right? 21st in the league, I believe, is what it was versus 31st. And his yak he's not benefiting as much, but he's still benefiting from it, much like other quarterbacks, like we mentioned. So is he better in those categories than he was in 2019? Sure. Is he a top 15 quarterback now because of it? I don't believe so. Is he worth the $27 million because of it? No, I don't believe so. So yeah, he is improving. He deserves credit. I mean, he's not playing bad. Again, it's hard, right? Because if you don't say something good about a player, you're automatically bashing on them. Jimmy G is who Jimmy G always was, right? To me, he's maybe slightly better in 2019, but he's basically the same player. I know what to expect from Jimmy. I know what not to expect, so I'm not going to get too high or too low. I've really taken most of my frustration out on this team more towards Shanahan than I have Jimmy. I mean, other than when people are asking my opinions and say that Jimmy's way better than what I think he is, I don't really bash on the guy. I don't think he's the reason that this team is losing. I've never really said that he was the reason this team was losing. I'm just not going to say he's the reason that they're winning. I'm going to be consistent.
Yeah. And I think it's just a real interesting conversation. The interception piece is another one. You kind of mentioned that, and I just looked it up real quick. He's at 2.2% incompletions, which is 17th in the league. Again, that's better than that's actually his best since he joins the 49ers. He's showing he's doing good in a lot of areas. I don't know. I don't really care if he's I don't really care to get into the argument if he's top 10, top 15, top 20. Because it's perception. Just trying when I talk about it, I have to laugh. I got to say this. I had to laugh today because we talk a lot about stuff, and everybody kind of says that I'm the Jimmy guy, and you're the Trey guy, or I'm the Jimmy guy and Grant's the Trey guy, whatever. Right? I'm the Jimmy guy. I'm the Jimmy lover. Right? And I put something out today, and I had somebody tell me that I hate Jimmy. So that was great. That actually made my day when I heard somebody tell me that I was hating on Jimmy. That was probably the best part of the whole Twitter day for me was when I heard that one, because
listen, you can't win. Like, you can't win. It doesn't matter what side you take. you're never going to win. There's always somebody. I don't know if you saw. I had a real sarcastic tweet towards Grant today, and people were blowing me up like, "Oh, I'm bookmarking this one, you Jimmy lover." Dude, I'm the furthest thing from a Jimmy lover. I get you didn't understand the satire in that tweet, but go ahead, bookmark it. That'll be fun.
Yeah, no, yes. You are. You kind of. Well, I got since we're on the topic of funny tweets today. The other one was there was something that happened between. Oh, Grant decided that he was going to say that put out the Alex Smith numbers, and then he got replaced,
yeah.
and where Jimmy is right now, and when he got replaced, and I said to him, I said, well, I mean, yeah, when they replaced Alex Smith in 2012, Kaepernick was better than Trey is now. And he'd been in the league for a year. It was a year and a half into the league, And then he decided to say that I had done a 180 and then another 180. Asked me if I'd done a 360, and then showed me doing a 540 on the half pipe. It's funny. It's all in good humor. I mean, Grant and I go back and forth at each other quite a bit on the topic because we don't agree. This is one we don't agree on. Even whatever. I think that Mac Jones is better. I think Jimmy's better. I think Mac Jones is better than Jimmy. And that doesn't mean I don't think Trey's going to be okay. I just don't. Let's give Trey a year to figure this out. I think he's going to be okay next year. I really do. Anyway, I'll shut up now and stop talking.
Pinor, the notes thing. Remember the Mac and the Trey? You got notes. You know what to do.
I hope he does because Mac Jones is going to be the best of these quarterbacks when it's all said and done. Said it enough. We don't need to keep talking about Mac Jones because he is the best, and you all know it. Real quick, though.
Grant's the spin doctor. That's true. Grant is the spin doctor.
Grant is the spin. Oh yeah, there he is. Yep, Grant is the spin doctor. There you go. Now, real quick, there was a good one up here. We're talking. We keep bringing up Yak, right? But the Luke had, where was he up here? It was originally, and he's right. It was Yak, run after catch. Man used to say it all the time. That's what it was originally. And then Eric, he's a big commenter over here. He likes to comment about, hey, I like the fact I got my pilot. I got my pilot headset on, and this thing is taking off. It's going to be smooth sailing to Jacksonville. I got to figure out my prediction for tonight. We'll get there.
If you're flying a plane, just know that I jump out of them. So,
well, I've done that. Well, I've done that myself. I've done that myself. That's why I asked you if you wanted. When I saw that you'd done it, I asked you if you wanted to go do it by yourself because as cool as it is to do the tandem like you did, if you ever get to the point where you do it by yourself, that's where it's at because it's pretty fun.
Have you done one by yourself? You've jumped by yourself?
Yeah, no, I've been I went through the certification and stuff, and yeah, it's been a while since I've done it, but I've jumped out of the plane 14 times. That's all there is. I did one tandem and then 13 times by myself because you got to do 7.
That's cool.
I would kind of do a diversion and divide, road take a right-hand turn here in the skydiving. But when you decide that you're going to try to get certified, it's a series of 7 jumps. So I did those 7 jumps, got certified, and then I did about 6 or 7 after that.
That's cool. That's awesome. What's the highest you've jumped from? Have you jumped from 18,000?
Yeah, I did 18,000 one time. I went out by myself. My sister did a tandem, so we went up together. Went up to 18,000 feet for that one.
That's incredible. That's so awesome. I loved it. If anybody hasn't done it and you've thought about doing it, I promise you, go skydiving. You'll love it.
Yeah, I just had this conversation with this conversation every once in a while with my girlfriend because she won't go skydiving, but she was talking about like people they were doing something on a side of a building, like looking down. I was like, nah. I'll go skydiving, but I'm not going to do that. And she looks at me like I have 3 eyes, and an extra eye on my forehead. And it's like, you don't understand when you're skydiving, there's nothing around you. You don't feel like you're falling like you would if you're falling like down the side of a building. It's not the same.
It's so different. I love it.
Jack Hammer watched too much Triple X. Vin Diesel. That's
I'm glad you clarified.
Yeah. That's a good point, Jesse. Good point. Yeah. I don't know. I actually had somebody tell me one time, I've had 2, I look like the guy that plays Jason Bourne. What's his name?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Damon?
Yeah,
that who
Matt
it is?
Damon. Yeah, I think Matt
Yeah,
Damon.
yeah.
Yeah, somebody told me I looked like Matt Damon. I don't know. So anyway, maybe
That's
Matt
funny.
Damon. I also had somebody though tell me that I look like the guy that used to be on Tonight Show before Jimmy Fallon. You had see these kind of things are better when you know what you're talking about. You know the names before you say them. Uh, oh, what's his name? He was on USA for a while. He had his own TV show, his own channel show over there. I think it starts with a
You
C.
talk Conan O'Brien?
Conan O'Brien. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I happened to be in San Francisco. I was a sales
You
manager at the
don't look
time.
anything like Conan O'Brien.
It was when I had longer hair. I didn't have a beard, and I was
Okay.
a sales manager, and we're in San Francisco, and we're like in the elevator, and my coworker, the sales rep that I was out with, because I was the manager, he looks at me and he said, and my hair was all like because of the wind in San Francisco. He said, "Man, you look like Conan O'Brien." And there happened to be a lady that just walked into the. I heard him say that as she walked into the elevator, and she looked at me, turned away, and tried not to laugh in my face because she obviously felt that I did too. So there you go.
He asked for your autograph.
No, she didn't. No, she didn't. But yeah, before we get as we let's just stay real quick on the celebrity thing, because I do want to put this on out here now, because it came up yesterday with East Bay Chris, and I think it was Spider Rico. I have two of my favorite followers on Twitter are a spider and a penguin. Just so you know. Um,
Are you talking about Jackass Penguin?
yes,
I
yes,
love that guy.
and uh, I was kind of getting after Eric Armstead a little bit yesterday, and one thing led to another, and there was a picture of MC Hammer with my face on it, and then there was a GIF of the Hammer dance, and so I told them that if the 49ers can win these next two games to get to 6-5, that will be I will tune into my live stream after that game, because you will see Jack
Yes.
Hammer do the MC Hammer dance. And
Yes, please, please.
I was practicing last night at my girlfriend's house, and just so you know, I could tell by the look on her face and her daughter's face, it was not going well. So
Yeah, I was practicing at my girlfriend's house, and just so you know, I don't have a girlfriend anymore. So thanks. Yeah, that's great.
exactly. So I don't know. I don't have, but I don't. That's the problem. I got it. That's a good point. I should see if I can find some of those old time. I used to have those parachute pants back when I was in high school. Everybody had those pants back in those days.
Oh yeah.
Zoom, they're kind of like the Zoomies or something like that. They were called. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, they were. Everybody back in the day had them. So, all right. Well, let's get back on track. We're talking 49ers. We got into all kinds of crazy
That
stuff
was
over
fun.
here.
I like that.
This was the one that we left off on. Is Deebo Samuel a top 10 wide receiver? What do you think, Jesse?
Man, you know what's crazy about this is if you had asked going into the season, no chance, no chance at all. But right now, he's really, really good. And you start to think about all the times that he has played when he's been healthy. He's been really good the whole time. So I think if he's not there, he's right there. And there's a lot of young receivers, most actually, that came from his draft class that are also in that top 10 conversation. And I feel like he holds a candle to all of them. So without going through all the names, I mean, to me, you've got Adams, that's like the clear cut number one guy. And then you've got a bunch of other guys that between 5 and 10 that you could go any route. Deebo Samuel's got to be in that conversation. So I'll say, yeah, I think he is a top 10 receiver.
Yeah, I think he's right on the edge of he's a top 10 guy. He's definitely one of the best. I think he's top 10 in the league when it comes to playmakers, for sure. His ability, what he does when the ball is in his hands, it can't be beat. The only thing for me that maybe keeps him away from being a top 10 wide receiver is the drops. But when he plays like he did on Monday night, where there's no drops, and then he's doing what he was doing as a running back, throw all that stuff together, that's really good. I mean, that's top 10 in the league running back playmakers, whatever position you want to put him at. That's top 10 players in the league, period, I think. really.
Yeah, he's very different than these other receivers. But at the same time, because he's technically the wide receiver position, and he does bring a completely different element, I love it. I think, I mean, he's a hell of a football player.
I agree. And real quick, we're talking about the hammer pants, but I'm gonna throw this one up again here anyway, just because it goes with my next comment. It's going to be around Deebo, where Pioneer tells me that I'm an old ass. So I'm gonna, but and I'm gonna. The reason that I bring that up when I bring up Deebo Samuel, because some of you probably weren't alive when this guy played for the 49ers, but to me, Deebo Samuel is um, Ricky Waters.
Oh, I like that.
Ricky Waters, and it's funny because it's something that I've said that for a while. I had mentioned it over the summer, I think, or maybe it might have been last year. I don't know, but when Ricky Waters was in college, he was a wide receiver at Notre Dame until his senior year, and then that's when he became a running back, got drafted as a running back. But when Mike Shanahan was the offense coordinator in '94, they threw the ball to him, and he made a lot of big plays, catching the ball in '94 and running, and it was kind of cool. Last night I was listening to Steve Young on KMBR on the radio station. He was getting interviewed, does it every Wednesday night. And one of the guys over there asked him that question, mentioned it. He said, when I watch Deebo Samuel, it reminds me a lot of Ricky Waters. And Young kind of agreed with that to an extent. He's like, yeah, Ricky was a guy who was way more explosive. He was kind of ahead of his time. Not a lot of people were able to do what he was doing at that point. But that's what I see when I see Deebo Samuel. He's a guy that can do everything. He's a receiver and a running back. And when you look at it, the build is very similar to what Ricky Waters was. He's more explosive than Ricky Waters, obviously, but their ability to do those types of things, I think he gives Kyle Shanahan the same kind of versatility that Waters gave his dad.
Yeah, Deebo could be 1,000-yard rusher in this league, no question. If that's what he wanted to do, he's a really good football player.
Yeah. So I don't know if you had any comps that you wanted to throw out there real quick before we move on, but
I think he's very unique. Vish has a good one. He talks about that cat for the Vikings. What was his name? Percy Harvin. It's a good comparison, I think. But maybe Cordarrelle Patterson, similar guys. But I think Deebo does a little bit differently than those guys. He's just so much more physical than them. So much more physical. He really does play like a running back. He does play like a running back with his physicality and all of that. But he's a wide receiver and a darn good one. So yeah, he's unique. He really is.
Yeah, I think that even Kyle Shanahan agreed with like some of those names you just threw out there. I think he threw out like guys like Percy Harvin and some of those guys as comps to an extent, but they're not thick like Deebo Samuel, where he can run through you and run around you.
I like the Waters one. I did not think that's where you were going to go with that. So yeah, but now that you said it, I do remember you tweeting about that. I think it was you and Rich were going back and forth a little bit during the offseason. I do remember you saying that, and I think that's a great comp, really.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. See, we get along. That's why we get along. We can fight like cats, and we're like an old married couple. We can fight, and then we come back together and we can talk it out and see eye to eye. And like Rob says over here, Jack is aging me and the reason I'm aging him is because he was there for all of the. He was alive and there for all of it. So now I'm making him feel old because I'm saying that you're old if you remember him.
I think you missed a super chat. It's pretty far up though.
Oh, I did. You're right. I did. There was one in here. I'll find it right here. It was
you paid, so you have to read it even though you don't like it.
No, it's Richard McDonald. Thank you for the donation, $1.99. I appreciate it. He says Lance's career will be better than Max. Okay. My
guy.
You're wrong, but thank you for the money. It's to be seen. And if I could qualify it and couch it, but I won't because I've been stubborn enough to say that Mac's going to be better anyway. So we'll just leave it there for now. But I appreciate you donating and throwing that out there at us. All right, let's see what else. What else do we got? I don't know what this is in regards to, but I want to put it out there because Luke put it out there for all the guys in the comments. I think it's pretty funny. I was such a terrible basketball player. teammates would say Luke exploded for 5 points in the second half. Hey, that sounds like me.
Funny.
That's sometimes like me. So I got to put this one out there too, because Rob says that he was a season ticket holder
Cool.
from 80 to 2005. That's age. You're a little bit older than me, I guess, because I was there from 85 to 2003. I think it was. Yeah, I crack
cool.
up. I had to crack up the other day, a couple weeks ago, when Jeff Deeney put out there that his season ticket is now each game now on his season ticket package is $199. I had to laugh because when I got my first set of season tickets in 1985, my full season was $200.
Wow.
And it used to be back in the day, Candlestick Park. It used to be it didn't matter where you sat, the prices were the same. So that meant that every ticket in the house was $200. So, I remember.
That's crazy.
I think the last year in 2000 and back in 2003, I think was the last year was like $65, and that was getting up there. So
That's incredible.
that shows you that shows you how old I am. My gosh. All right. One more. Let's see. We got two more. We got to hurry this up because I'm digressing too much. Keys to beating Jacksonville.
Okay, so talked about it a little bit earlier. What things need to happen in order for them to keep things going? To me, run the ball. You have to run the ball. You have to continue to commit to running the ball 30 plus times. Shanahan, you've said it. You said 30 runs gets you wins. You've gone over 30 twice this year. You've won both of those games. So stick to that. Run the ball 30 plus times. That's number one. Number two, be very opportunistic in getting turnovers. And number three, offensively, the Jaguars are not that dynamic. They're not that great. Just under 17 points a game. Stop their run. James Robinson is probably their biggest weapon. Stop him. You can win this game. To me, those are the three keys.
Yeah, I agree with you. Those are all really good. I do want to see the 49ers keep the ball, this whole ground game thing going. Depending on what happens at right tackle, whether it's going to be the rookie out there or if they're going to have to go back to Tom Compton. I don't feel comfortable with passing the ball very much with Tom Compton there. So I would like to see the 49ers, keep the ball on the ground, like you said, maybe have a target of 35, because 40 is going to be tough. But if you can get it to 35, that's good. I think, Jacksonville, their quarterback is a rookie. You've got to take advantage of the rookie, and you've got to be able to do a better job against this guy than you did against Justin Fields. That was just too much, up and down the field in that game until late. And they got to get him. They've got to get some pressure on him. I think that's the other thing that you need to see.
Yeah, it would be nice for that defensive line to show up. We know that their defensive line can. Josh Allen wreaked havoc in that Bills game against, coincidentally, Josh Allen. So don't throw the ball a lot.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, exactly. Or a lot of times those kind of pass rushers, you run the ball at them, and you can get your yards that way. So we'll see how that works out.
Absolutely.
All right. Score predictions. What have you got?
All right. So I do think that this game can be a trap game. You're traveling cross country, short week, early game, bad team, kind of a recipe for a loss. But this team knows that they can take no more losses. So I think they'll be dialed in. I do think it'll take them some time to get going just because of some of those factors that I've named. But I think that they'll pull away in the second half. I'm going to go 27-17 49ers.
27. What did you say? 27-17?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go with the 49ers winning this one. 24 is where I'm going to come down on the points. It's going to be 49ers 24, Jaguars 16. 24-16 49ers.
Okay. All right. I like it. Which is right at their average. They're just under 17 a game. Yeah, they're just under 17 a game, so that's good.
Yeah, if the 49ers have been actually a pretty darn good team on the road. They've done pretty good on these early starts as well. I saw somebody today, I think it was the NFL on CBS put out there where Garoppolo's only lost like 4 times on the road or 5 times on the road. He's got some crazy number on the road. The 49ers have been pretty good on the East Coast or on these early starts as well. So the only thing that concerns me, we looked at this schedule at the beginning of the year and we said, if this was anybody but Jacksonville, it could almost be looked at as a scheduled loss because you played on Monday night. Now you're flying to the East Coast. You're playing an early game. That's the only thing that's the one thing that still makes me nervous about this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely not as bad as the Tennessee game is going to be, but it's not ideal for sure. Definitely not ideal.
Yeah, for sure. Let me just look at this real quick. It was,
and I'll be at the game, so the 49ers are definitely winning. Don't worry about it. I got it, guys.
There you go. Yeah. Well, Jimmy Garoppolo's made 20 starts on the road as a member of the 49ers. He's 16-4. His losses pretty easy to remember. He had the 2 losses in 2018 2018, Kansas City and Minnesota. And then you had the loss in Baltimore, and I might have lost one this year. I don't remember this year's, but yep. So believe in Jimmy G. Jimmy G is the man. He's the myth. He's the legend. Jessie likes him. He said so. I don't know how many times he has gone full Jimmy G lover on this show tonight. And
I'd show you my lower back tattoo, but it's still healing, so I'll hold off till next week.
Oh, it still has the whatever stuff over it. Yeah.
The cellophane. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll wait till next week for you to show that to us. But yeah, I think we've run out of material for the night. But make sure that the 49ers win. Remember, I said it here. The 49ers win this week, and then they go and they beat Minnesota next week. You can tune in to my show after the game live from Levi Stadium and watch me do Hammer Time, the dance back and forth for you. It's going to be great. So there's additional, reason for you to be cheering on this week.
Just so you know, that's turning into a GIF and it's going on Twitter immediately. I'm just letting you know, be prepared because that's going to happen.
Hey, that's okay. That's okay. That's what it's about. If Rich Madrid can become a GIF with his face coming over Levi Stadium, then me dancing to my Hammer Time dance, I think that'll be a good one. That might even be better. Perfect.
Really. I think so too.
All right, guys. Well, I've got 49ers 24-16. Jessie had them at 27-17.
17. Yes, sir.
So there you go. You heard it here first. 49ers are going to win. You're going to get the 500 this week in Jacksonville. Anything that you've got going on that you want to talk about? I think you have a call-in show coming up here, right?
Yeah, 10 minutes. Call-in show, my channel, Last Second Sports. So come on over, get your thoughts off. You've heard me talk for long enough. I'll talk for a couple minutes at the beginning, and then I'll turn the floor over to you guys. So make sure you tap in over there and, come check it out. Give Jack a like and subscribe if you have not done so already. Make sure you show him some love. Hit that bell notification so you never miss an episode. That's about it.
All right. Perfect. Yep. Hit that like button, comment, subscribe, all the fun stuff that you do here. Thanks everybody so much for joining us on a Thursday night. Make sure you get over to the Last Second Sports and Jessie's channel right when we're done here. Thanks again. Have a great Thursday and have a good night. Talk to you soon.